Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about my 5 favorite Christmas movies. Just going to read the list down from 5 to 1, talk a little bit about each one, and just talk about Christmas in general. I remember back in the 80s and my entire life growing up, hearing constantly about how Christmas was just a commercial holiday. It was just about buying stuff and greed, stuff like, it was just about receiving gifts and purchasing gifts and all that stuff. And I remember back in the 80s hearing that and thinking about it and looking around and seeing the malls decorated with the holiday music, Bing Crosby playing in the mall and the big Christmas tree and Santa Claus sitting there on his chair. And I remember thinking that whole thing, that whole idea that it was just commercialized was bullshit. Look at all the holiday spirit. Every store you went into was decorated. Hell, the towns were decorated, the street lights and stuff, the stoplights, even stop signs had tinsel on them and stuff when I was a kid. It was an entire feeling that ran throughout all of society. If you saw a stranger on the street, you said Merry Christmas. You said Merry Christmas to the greeter or the cashier or whatever, the whole time leading up to Christmas. And I've noticed this year, I've kind of actually paid attention to it, and nobody does that anymore. I've, been in line at the grocery store and made my way through, and nobody says Merry Christmas to each other anymore. I think that what they used to say back in the 80s about it being just a commercialized propaganda thing is true now. Yeah, the holiday spirit is gone. There's no, even when people do say it, they want to say happy holidays now, I guess. I never have. I never have said that. Somebody says happy holidays to me, I say Merry Christmas back. I say Merry Christmas. I have always and I always will. But that it's just kind of the Christmas spirit has died. I mean, literally, it's dead. It's just, you buy some stuff and that's it. I mean, I remember I walked into Lowe's, and Lowe's has this little, or pretty large, section for their holiday stuff, and they started putting their Halloween decorations and their Christmas decorations out at the same time. Christmas decorations came out at the same time before Halloween. And then they took the Halloween stuff away and they just kept putting more and more Christmas stuff out. And then, hell, a week before Christmas Day or something, last week sometime, all the Christmas stuff was already on clearance. They just rush it through, get it out, get it sold, and get it out. There's just no Christmas spirit anymore. It's just a retail, hustle is what it is. So I never see hardly any decorations in stores anymore. Not decorating the store. You can go in there, decorations for sale, of course, but the stores aren't decorated anymore. The streets aren't decorated. I don't know what it is, but why all that has stopped, I'm not really sure. Maybe something to do with money. Maybe just people don't give a shit anymore. I don't know, but it's a sad fact of what we're seeing today. And I try to keep the holiday spirit alive. I say Merry Christmas to people, even though they don't say it back a lot of times. Or they'll say something else, like Happy Holidays or something back. But it's really sad to see it go away. That spirit, that just feeling of warmth and togetherness that the holiday brings us. We're so divided now. Everyone's so divided throughout the year that they can't. It's harder to come together now for Christmas. Harder to get that feeling of warmth and camaraderie with a complete stranger that Christmas used to provide. I don't know. Maybe we can bring it back. Maybe we can. Maybe things will change. Maybe with this new administration and get some unity, some togetherness. Maybe we'll bring back those days in the 80s. Because like I said before in a video before, some changes are bad. You don't change just for the sake of change. When you find something good, when you hit the sweet spot in society, you should stay there. And I think we had the sweet spot in society back in the 80s on a lot of topics. Christmas being one of them. Christmas, yeah, we had our toys and our games and all that stuff we wanted, Ataris or Nintendos or whatever, right? But there was still a lot of Christmas spirit. The stores made plenty of money back then, so I don't know. Maybe we can get back to that one day. Now to the main topic of the video, my 5 favorite Christmas movies, and I watch them every year during this time. I watch every one of these and more. I like the older Christmas movies. The newer ones, not so much. They just don't strike the same chord with me. But my number 5 is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Old Griswold, he has a hell of a time in that movie. The scene in that movie that sticks in my head is when he brings that stuff home from work or whatever, that lubricant, and puts it on the bottom of that stainless steel, what is that, a wok or something he sits on? I forget. And he goes flying down that hill on the snow. Yeah, that's one of the scenes that sticks in my head. It's stuck in my head since I was a kid. And that and the squirrel, that crazy squirrel. Number 4, I gotta say Home Alone. That's an all-time classic. That one's probably in everyone's top 5. Home Alone. You gotta love that one. All the stuff that he puts those criminals through, and I heard that on that, that movie he's watching, the old black and white movie, they actually shot that for Home Alone. That wasn't an actual movie. That was just made up for the Home Alone movie. A little trivia there. But yeah, great movie. And that's one of the movies that's great all the way through it. It's a wonderful movie the whole way through. And some Christmas spirit at the end. So it's pretty neat. Number 3 is the Peanuts Christmas special with the Charlie Brown's little Christmas tree with the one bulb on it, and it's leaning over the little sickly Christmas tree. And the best thing about that movie, in my opinion, is Charlie Brown's speech. And I read a thing saying that the creator of the Peanuts, what was his name? I can't remember his name now. Chuck something, maybe, I don't know. But he actually wrote that in there, and then the makers of the TV show, they didn't want that speech in there, but he said that he was gonna leave. He wouldn't have anything to do with it. He wouldn't do it if they took that out. So they kept it in. And that is just classic. It would have been a completely different thing without that in there. So, and that I listen to that Charlie Brown speech about Christmas every year, and it just, that just, the Christmas spirit wells up in me, I guess, that whole stuff I was talking about earlier, the Christmas spirit. That's another reason why the Christmas spirit has faded away, is because we don't have that kind of stuff anymore. Kids don't watch that kind of stuff anymore. Number 2 is A Christmas Story. I love that one. You'll shoot your eye out. You'll shoot your That's another classic that's great all the way through. Every second of that movie is wonderful. I love it. I watch it every Christmas. Um, I've always loved it. That lamp, and there's so many things I could go through that whole movie and point out just wonderful, iconic parts of the movie, but it's great. The dialogue, the whole setting back in, I think it was the 50s, that was the perfect setting for it. Just everything. The whole movie just rocks. I love it. And that's what I'm going to do today is watch these movies. Me and my wife, she loves them too, and we'll sit down and we'll watch all these movies on Christmas Day together. Yeah, Christmas Story. And the Little Orphan Annie decoder ring. See, there's so many things in that movie that are just great. But anyway, and my last one, or my first one actually, my top number one favorite Christmas movie is A Christmas Carol, the one from 1984 with George C. Scott. It was actually a TV movie, like the Peanuts, but yeah, I've already watched it, I think twice, 2 or 3 times this month already leading up to Christmas. I'll probably watch it again today. I just love that movie. George C. Scott nails the Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge. I've watched many other versions of A Christmas Carol, and they all pale in comparison to George C. Scott and that version of Tiny Tim. When you see remakes of movies, there's always, the real version in your head. The other ones look fake. Those characters seem fake, and that's how I am with A Christmas Carol. Because that might be the most reshot movie in history. I would bet, because there are so many versions of it. It's insane. Animated versions, live action versions, all kinds of different ways that story's told. But the 1984 version is my favorite. George C. Scott nails it. He makes Ebenezer Scrooge human, and believable. And same way with Bob Cratchit and the rest of the cast. They're all really believable characters. They have opinions and life and everything is going on. So yeah, and that's just the real one to me. To me, that's A Christmas Carol. When I see that title or hear those words, A Christmas Carol, that's the one that pops into my head, is the 1984 version. The rest of them are just out there. They're just noise. And a couple of honorable mentions I'll talk about is Scrooged, kind of a twisted version of A Christmas Carol with Bill Murray. Yeah, that is hilarious. I love that movie too. We just watched that one yesterday, me and the wife. That's one of her favorites. And yeah, I love that movie too. And then, of course, all the classic claymations. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, and all those. Those are just great. I love those. I watch those too every Christmas. But these ones I've listed are my top 5 favorites. And if you would list your 5 favorites down in the comments for me, I really appreciate that. I want to hear from y'all, and maybe you guys have some movies that I've forgotten about. I'll put on my playlist. All right. So I want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you are happy. Thank you so much for supporting this channel throughout the year. It just means the world to me. I'm going to keep doing this, and we'll stay in touch and keep this community together. And I hope that next year is even better for you. I wish you all the very best. So, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.